John O'Naylor.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And if I can pick up very briefly on where my colleague Maurice Williamson left off, giving the traffic update, only to say that in Palmerston North in rush hour, it's always seen as a positive thing because you actually get to hear the end of the song that you were listening to on the radio before you get home, which is not something that you manage to do when commuting in Palmerston North. But Mr Speaker, just coming back to the bill, of course, because I'm sure if I don't quickly, you'll bring me back on track very quickly. Over the years, in terms of my dealings, whether it be through local government or in this realm, and there's been talk about Class 4 gambling or pokies or otherwise, there's been three things that people have brought to my attention in particular. The first one has been issues around problem gambling, and that's been talked about a little bit this afternoon as well. And the two other things that people really talk to me is their concern about whether or not the funds that are being spent locally on pokie machines, in terms of the returns back to the community and community organisations, whether or not that's going back locally, and whether or not operators are in fact skimming, if you like, more off the profits or profiteering in some way from these machines, when in fact they're only ever supposed to get a sort of a cost recovery regime through the process of operating these machines in their venues. And so, Mr Speaker, I think this bill does some good work in ensuring and giving some confidence and transparency to communities that where money has been spent on gaming machines in their locality, that the returns from that will go back to those communities. And I think that's a really critical factor, and it's been one of the big criticisms of this source of funding in the past, that it's been brought together in one lump and then sent into different communities. And as other speakers have said, often the money has been taken from communities that can't necessarily afford it or otherwise, and so it's appropriate that the money and the profits from this, the proceeds from these, do go back into those communities. So I commend the Minister for and the Select Committee for ensuring that that happens through this process. And of course, the other one is to have a greater level of transparency and accountability for the operators to ensure that they are not using this as a form of income for themselves. Do recognise that for some people it is an entertainment that they engage in while they are in a licensed premise. But the purpose of these machines is not for them to make significant profits. And so the increased accountability and transparency in this bill around Class 4 gambling, I think, is going to be a positive thing going forward, and I'm happy to support this bill at its third reading. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker.